Thank you. No further questions.
Defense, your witness.
Ms. Diem,
Good morning.
you started working at Chuggy's Bar in 2018, correct?
Yes,
You love Chuggy's Bar.
I did.
More specifically, you love the old dive bar Chuggy's, correct?
I'd say that I love Chuggy's regardless.
You didn't like what Miss Sutcliffe turned the bar into, did you?
I didn't like her direction.
You lost tips from regulars.
Yeah,
You couldn't sneak your underage friends into the bar anymore.
Objection, relevance.
You may be heard.
I don't think that this has any relevance to the case at hand. This more goes to show Skylar's behavior, and it really doesn't tell anything about the bar or Dakota Sutcliffe.
Response.
Well, it's not supposed to show her behavior at all. It just shows that she lost stuff from Dakota moving in, being the owner of Chuggy's.
Is counsel saying that, trying to bring the bias of this witness by using these facts?
It's trying to bring up the fact that we don't know Ms. DeYoung's alibi for that night, and this leads to probable cause to maybe burn down the bar.
Okay, response?
I don't think that that has anything to do with her alibi that night. This goes back like almost a year to when Dakota bought the bar in 2019. I don't think this has anything to do with that night and her alibi or why she would set the fire. This just has stuff to do with her behavior as a bartender.
Last response before I make my decision?
Well, fire. Shoot.
No, it was an actual fire.
Okay, this is relevant because Miss DeYoung was angry at Miss Sutcliffe, and it built up all of the things that made Miss Sutcliffe angry from the beginning of Miss Sutcliffe coming into office to the very end in July 2020 when the fire happened.
I'm going to overrule the objection, great argument, but I do believe this information is irrelevant to this matter because this is the relationship with this witness to the bar.
Thank
Great
you.
argument.
You couldn't sneak your underage friends into the bar anymore, could you?
no,
You had a few extra tables to clean as well,
yeah,
and these changes made you angry at Miss Sutcliffe.
I guess you could say that.
But that was just the beginning. In the winter, Miss Sutcliffe closed down the bar for renovations,
Yes,
and you were really angry at her for that, weren't you?
I was angry that we didn't reopen when she said we would.
You lost your most profitable night of the year,
Chuggy's itself lost its most profitable night of the year.
but you as well didn't you, Miss
I
Udell?
was a part of Chuggy's, so yes.
You were very close to losing it on Miss Sutcliffe for that, weren't you?
I was definitely upset.
But you were close to losing it on Miss Sutcliffe.
I guess you could say that.
So is that a yes?
Yes,
Let's fast forward to March 23rd, 2020. Miss Sutcliffe had to lay you off, didn't she?
she had to lay off most of the staff.
That included you.
Yes,
And after she laid you off, you were mad at her.
I was upset, but then I understood why.
But you were mad at her as that
Originally,
happened.
I was upset, but then I understood why.
You were mad at her, and to make matters worse, she kept Tobin Johnson on the staff, didn't she?
Yes, she kept Tobin Johnson in the cook.
You were mad at her, and she kept someone who you had worked more time at Chuggy's than.
Actually, Tobin Johnson worked longer than I had. She had started working in 2017, whereas I started working in 2018.
May I confer with my co-witness? Now another fast forward to as recent as July 2020. You were still so angry at Miss Sutcliffe that you went to talk to her, didn't you?
Originally, yes, I was gonna go talk to her.
after that confrontation, you knew about Miss Sutcliffe's financial problems because you overheard their conversation in the truck.
Yes, I had overheard a conversation.
You didn't get questioned by the state, did you?
No.
And to your knowledge, did the state question any of your former coworkers?
Not to my knowledge, no.
And you don't know if the state questioned any of the regulars of Chuggy's?
Objection, speculation. May I be heard? This is beyond the knowledge of the witness. They can't testify whether the state's actions, whether the state questioned regulars or anything like that. She has no knowledge of that.
So are the grounds personal knowledge of your objection?
Yeah.
Response.
My point is that she doesn't have any knowledge of the state questioning any of the employees of Chuggy's. So that is what my question is. She doesn't know. That's,
So she has no personal knowledge.
yes.
I'm gonna sustain the objection. Stricken.
Stricken.
The state never tested any of your clothes for flammable chemicals, did they?
No. They have no reason to.
And you don't know if the state tested any clothing of current employees of Chuggy's?
Not to my knowledge, no.
And you don't know if they could have, or you don't know if they tested any clothing of patrons of the bar?
Not to my knowledge, no.
You claim to have
Objection,
seen.
lack of personal knowledge.
You may be heard.
He's still arguing that she had knowledge of this, what the state did in their investigation, and this is not to this witness's knowledge.
May I confer with my co-counsel? Ms. Young, back to you working. Oh,
You got it.
I
You may
got it.
proceed. Proceed with questioning.
Ms. Young, back to you working less time than Tobin Johnson. It is your testimony that you had worked less time than Tobin Johnson.
It is my testimony that I started working in 2018.
So is that
It
less?
is my simple testimony that I started working in 2018. There is nowhere in my affidavit that specifically states when Tobin Johnson started working there.
Okay, ma'am. So, Ms. Young, you had worked less time than Tobin Johnson at Chuggy's?
It is my testimony that I started working in 2018.
So, is that a yes?
It is my testimony that I started working in 2018. I had
Your
overheard.
Honor, the witness is not answering my co-counsel's questions. Could you please ask her to answer it?
Only the attorney who is speaking may approach the judge and come to the bench if necessary. So you may approach the bench. The bench. The bench. I am going to ask the witness to answer the question that's being asked.
Okay.
So, Ms. DeYoung, you worked less time than
Yes,
Tobin Johnson?
I was employed for less time than Tobin Johnson, yes.
So that is your testimony?
Yes, that is my testimony.
No. You are aware that you, may I confer with my co-counsel? So, Ms. DeYoung, it is your testimony that you worked less time than Tobin Johnson?
Yes, it's my testimony that I was hired after Tobin Johnson.
You remember making a statement for this trial, and when you wrote that statement, you took an oath.
Yes,
An oath to be truthful,
yes,
an oath to be accurate,
yes,
and an oath to be complete.
yes,
And you know that you had to, until the beginning of today's trial, to change anything about that statement?
Yes,
And you'd recognize a copy of that statement if it were shown to you today?
I would.
Permission to approach the co-counsel with the affidavit.
Opposing counsel? Yes.
Ms. DeYoung, this is a copy of your sworn statement, correct?
Yes,
And that's your signature on the bottom of the last page?
yes, that's my signature.
Please turn to page number 108. Please turn to page number 83 and line 108.
Yes,
Read silently as I read aloud. I had worked there longer than Tobin.
yes, that says that.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I believe this is an improper,
Is the
Impeachment?
state objecting?
yes, the state is objecting. In Ms. Schuyler's affidavit, it says she started working there in 2018, and to Ms. DeJong's knowledge, she had worked there longer than Tobin. In his affidavit, it said he worked there longer, but this is to her knowledge that she worked there.
In prior statement, she did say that she worked longer than Tobin, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm going to overrule the objection.
Ms. DeYoung, you claim to have seen Miss Sutcliffe leaving Chuggy's the night before the bar burned down, correct?
Yes,
You actually believe you followed them for 12 minutes?
yes,
And you believe you followed them from Chuggy's to the fire station?
yes,
And then you believe they walked in through the unlocked back door of the fire station?
yes, I saw her.
Ms. DeYoung, just to be clear, you had nobody to confirm your whereabouts of that night?
No,
You had nobody to corroborate your story?
no,
Nobody can confirm your theory because the state never questioned you?
yes, they have no reason.
No further questions, Your Honor.
State your witness's views. Okay, state may call the next witness.
The prosecution.
Order in the court.
The prosecution calls to the stand Alex Silva. Good morning, Mr. Silva. Would you please state your name and occupation for the court?
My name is Alex Silva. I was formerly a firefighter, but due to a traumatic experience, I am no longer a full-time firefighter. I am currently working at the Midlands Department of Parks and Recreation, and in my spare time, I still volunteer at that old unit I used to work at.
While you worked at the Midlands County Fire Department, who did you work with?
I worked with many people, but the two people